I just quickly want to show you the style information as well as the constraints, which are the two tabs up at the top. So with style, we can see this will allow us to correct the position for a standard text area or any field that isn't the section. The position will appear in this style tab, allowing us, as I mentioned, to move and reposition this field if we've added it to the bottom of the form, but functionally it's intended to be halfway through or something like that. We can adjust the position here. We also have CSS implementation again for either the label, which is the part that I have written, or for the value, which is the part that the user will write. Again, I can change the color or anything like that using CSS if necessary. I could also adjust the size of both the label and input in terms of cells, increasing this to 1, 2, 3, anything along those lines, but keeping it 1 is usually what you would need to do. 2 might help you push sort of things and reposition things in certain ways, certainly something to explore and play around with, but realistically leaving it as it is pretty much what you'll do for the majority of the time. Underneath that, of course, we have a couple of other options. We can either separate those cells, so these sizes and adjustments have a bit more of an impact when we change them individually. We can have the label above the input field. What that simply means is, of course, we can see just behind this tab right now, or this pop-up, that the name is to the left and the input is, or the label should I say, is to the left and the input is to the right. Whereas if we were to select this, where it says name would appear on top of this area and it would be moved, made more compact, basically. Purely just a stylistic choice. It really doesn't matter which option you choose here. If you want to apply a lot of fields per row, it might be beneficial to have the label above the input field. And then the last option we have is group with next, which is something I'm going to select here. Now, as a standard, when building a form, any new field that you add will appear underneath any pre-existing fields there. So any other fields that you create will all appear underneath one another in a sort of vertical line. Now, if you want to add more than one field per row, we have that ability by grouping a particular field with next. So what this simply means is the next field that I add onto the form will be added to the same row, keeping them on that same line there. We also have our constraints tab, which is simply going to allow us to put specifics in terms of constraints, meaning that if we put a number in here, we can have a character limit saying that this field can't be more than 40 characters or has to be less than 40 characters, for instance. We have a constraints, which is from, or a constraint value, should I say, which is from a numerical standpoint. So if this was for like a financial field, it couldn't be more than 500, or it couldn't be less than 500, for instance, stuff like that. And then the top item here is to say a specific text item. So if I was to type something like hello in here, it would mean that anything that wasn't hello that was written into this text field would not be registered and not something that could be applied. But now if I just hit save,